right, you guys, so to create different kinds of forms, okay, the first step is you still pinch the same exact way. Thumb in the middle, fingers wrapped all the way to the bottom, and you pinch a few times around the bottom to create that 1/4 inch thickness, okay? Everyone does that same step. No one's doing anything different. 1/4 inch around the bottom. Next step, now you have to decide what form do you want, because the way you hold your arm, the way you shape your fingers, and how you pinch is going to affect the shape, the form, okay? So if you want your bowl to be a little bit taller, so taller walls, having them go more straight up, what you want to do is you want to have your arm going right into like your stomach. And I know you can't really see that on me that well, but my arm is going straight into my stomach. Okay, so it's like I could even connect it to my stomach. My thumb is staying straight in the middle. And then when I move to pinch the sides, okay, paying attention to the shape of my finger. If I want a straight wall, okay, I want to keep my fingers straight. You guys can see this kind of funky angle. It looks like a distorted hand, okay? So I'm kind of stretching it. So I'm making straight fingers. If I want a curved wall, I have curved fingers, okay? Pretty self-explanatory. So if I want a curved wall, I have curved fingers, and I'm just doing those pinchings. Now I'm going to do a 1/2 and 1/2 pot, so that's why I'm kind of rocking it back and forth. Okay, so you guys can already see that I'm starting to get a little bit higher on this side than I am on this side. Okay, so straight wall versus curved wall. If you really want your wall to be a lot taller, if you want your whole bowl to be skinny and then tall, instead of just pinching, okay, this is what we're all doing, right? This is pinching, okay? Instead of just squeezing the clay, what you want to do is have your thumb stationary inside your bowl, and you're going to take your outside fingers and press into the clay and pull up. Okay, so what I'm doing is my thumb is stationary, my outside fingers are doing the work, and I'm pulling up, okay? So your hands are going to get some exercise here. So this is the motion that I'm doing. So instead of just squeezing back and forth, push in, pull the clay upwards. Okay, I'm wanting to make sure I get the same 1/2 and 1/2. Okay, so thumb is staying stationary, and I'm dragging the clay upwards, dragging the clay upwards, dragging the clay upwards, upwards. Okay, and then I continue to do that. So I move upwards here, and I drag the clay upwards. You guys can see that clay growing taller. Drag the clay upwards, drag the clay upwards. Now you want to pay attention to the shape of your form, okay? So do you want a straight wall? Do you want a curved wall? Okay, so changing your fingers. Do you want your bowl to just go straight up, or do you want it to kind of curve back in? So you might need to change the angle of how you're pinching. If I want it to come back in, so instead of just holding it up and down like this, I've angled my fingers, okay, to have it come back in, okay? And so now we're seeing that we're getting this kind of curved shape, and it's grown taller, okay? So it doesn't flare out that much. It's just a nice kind of tall wall, okay? So thumb stationary, outside fingers doing the work, pinching, pinching. If you just pinch, it's naturally gonna wanna spread out, okay? Pinching just stretches the clay, okay? If you want it to be tall, you're gonna pull the clay, okay? All right, so that's one concept. And like I said, I just did kind of 1/2 to show you guys, okay? The other half, so this is just basically the base and then this really thick area of clay. I still have all that clay, okay? So on the other side, If we want our walls to flare outwards, we're going to do the opposite, where our outside fingers are stationary and our thumb is going to be doing the work. Okay, so it's like a little monster here, right? Your thumb is going to do the work. So depending on your angle, how much of an angle you want, I wouldn't go super drastic. Okay, if you go too sharp, it's going to be a plate. We don't want a plate. Okay, we're making a bowl. Okay, so 45-degree angle would probably be the highest angle that you'd want. And you're going to keep your fingers stationary. Again, if you want a straight wall, keep your fingers straight. If you want a curved wall, keep your fingers curved. Okay, and use your thumb to pull outwards. Your thumb is doing the work. So you have to try to train your hand a little bit. Okay, this one is a little trickier, like I said, because your thumb is stretching the clay outwards more. You are going to end up with a few more extra splits and cracks. So it is a little bit more challenging, but you guys can already see the difference. Okay, if I were to cut this in half, where's the actual base? This is the base. Okay, sort of flares out. Okay, so I can have straight fingers and pinch. Okay, pinch, 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 and then come up and keep pinching, get everything the right angle, and smooth everything out. And now I've got a bowl that flares outwards. Okay, straight or curved, whatever you want. Okay. The only issue with this, right, and this is why I said you want to keep probably just a 45-degree angle. So if this was the base right here, okay, if you have more than a 45-degree angle, it's going to be flared out way too far, and then the whole thing is going to want to just collapse on you, okay? So if we're doing math, right, math, this is a 90-degree square angle, right? 90 degree, half of 90 degree is 45. Okay, that's probably as far as you'd want to go. All right, if you have a really, really wide angle, you're making basically a platter, which is fine if you like platters, but that's not what the project is, right? But as soon as you have something that's a little bit too wide, the wider it is, then the walls are starting to get really floppy. And then the weight of your project is just going to want to push the whole thing down and collapse and fall apart. Okay, so you do want to make sure that you're going to be really cautious about not having it flare out too much. If your walls are starting to get really floppy, let it rest. Let it stiffen up a little bit before you try to keep pinching. If you try to do the whole thing when it's really plastic, especially when it's bigger, okay, it's going to be a lot bigger than this. It's going to want to flop and fold, and the more times the walls move back and forth, you're going to get cracks, and then the whole thing is just going to want to collapse into nothing. Okay, and then you're like, ooh, wow, look at my pinch pot, it looks so good. No, and then you'll have to start over again. Okay, so I already ruined it. Okay, but just review, something taller. I don't even remember which side was which now. I messed everything up. Taller, thumb stationary, outer fingers do the work, pulling the clay upwards, angling inwards because it's naturally going to want to flare outwards. So if you want to counteract that by coming inwards, okay, to get a taller piece. Otherwise, angle your arm outwards. Your elbow is sticking out like you're nudging someone, okay, and then folding or pinching in the direction that you want, okay? So I would highly encourage you guys to practice, particularly if you're looking for a wider form, okay, so that you feel confident. And then if you're getting really frustrated, you can, you know, draw a face on it and pretend that it's, you know, somebody that you don't like, and then be like, "Ugh, I hate you," and then you can like punch it in the face, and that gets out some aggression. I like to do that sometimes. Okay. All right, you guys.